House come to order. Seems a lot quieter without Thor. First order of business of roll call. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will record their presence. Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 65 ayes, 5 absent and excused, the majority being present. The House is ready to do business. House now advances second order of business, prayer by our chaplain Tom Doherty, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, today provided for us by Jared Siegmiller. Will our friends in the gallery please arise?
I'd like to thank in advance the 5 people who are going to take my place next week. I'll be in Orlando, and so I just thought I'd let you know, and I thank you guys and ladies that are helping me. Today I've got a quote from Audrey Hepburn, and she was known as a very compassionate woman and actor, and she says this: when you get older, you realize you have 2 hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others. And the passage of scriptures is another one from Paul, Philippians. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking in your own interests, but each of you into the interest of others. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another day that we have on this planet. Dear Lord, help us to look for ways to help others. I pray our living would not be in vain, but would be filled with love and compassion and understanding. Dear Lord, it doesn't take much to recognize that so many people in this world are hurting. I pray you bring comfort to the hurting and care for the dying and encouragement for those that are down. I pray, Lord, that our hearts would be filled with love and concern for all mankind. Be with those in our state, our nation, and our world that are hungry and or homeless. Take care of them and lead them to the many places that provide food and shelter. I'm thankful, Lord, for our rescue mission and our City Light mission for those who need shelter and positive encouragement. Be with all our local ministries that provide help for the needy. I pray we would never have a closed eye for those that need a touch from you through us. We are a blessed people, Lord, and for that I'm thankful. Give us a compassionate heart, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge
House will be in order. House will now advance to third order of business, approval of the journal. The House at third order of business.
In the House of Representatives, February 9th, 2024, Mr. Speaker, we, our Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration, report that we have read and approved the House Journal of the 32nd Legislative Day and recommend same be adopted as corrected. Moved by Skog, seconded by Gannon.
You've heard the motion to approve the journal. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. The journal is approved. House will now advance to fourth order of business. Consideration of messages from the governor and the Senate. The House is at the fourth order of business.
From the Senate, February 8th, 2024. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate Concurrent Resolution 111 and Senate Bills 1234 and 1266, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 111, Senate Bill 1234, and Senate Bill 1266 will be filed for the first reading calendar. The House will now advance to fifth order of business. Report of standing committees. The House at fifth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, February 9th, 2024. Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration, report that we have printed House Concurrent Resolutions 20 and 21 and House Bills 500, 501, 502, 503, 504, 505, 506, 507, 508, 509, 510, 511, 512, 513, 514, 515, 516, 517, 518, 519, 520, 521, 522, 523, 524, 525, 526, 527, and 528. Skog, Chairman.
House Bill 515 will file for the second reading calendar. House Concurrent Resolution 20 and House Bill 522 referred to the State Affairs Committee. House Concurrent Resolution 21, House Bill 511, 512, 513, 514, 515, 516, 517, 518, 519, and 520 will be referred to Judiciary and Rules Administration Committee. House Bill 500 will refer to the Education Committee. House Bill 501, 502, 503, 504, 505, 506 referred to the Business Committee. House Bill 507 referred to the Commerce and Resource and Conservation Committee. House Bill 508, 509, 510 referred to the Commerce and Human Resources Committee. House Bill 521 and 523 were referred to the Revenue and Taxation Committee. House Bills 524, 525, 26, 527, 528 referred to the Health and Welfare Committee. House Bill 448, previously held at the desk, will refer to the State Affairs Committee. House Bill 441, previously held at the desk, referred to the Health and Welfare Committee.
February 8th, 2024. Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Education, report that we have had under consideration House Bill 451 and recommend that it do pass. Yamamoto, Chairman.
House Bill 451, we filed for the second reading calendar.
February 9th.
Lady, 11.
Oh, wait.
That's all right. We're good.
Can I do it? Okay. Thank you, Speaker. I request unanimous consent to return H 451 to House Ed as requested by the sponsor.
Unanimous request has been requested to refer House Bill 451 to the Education Committee. The chairman and the sponsor have requested this request, and it's unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. House Bill 451 will refer back to the Education Committee.
February 9th, 2024. Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on State Affairs, report that we have had under consideration House Bill 471 and recommend that it do pass. Crane, Chairman.
House Bill 471 will file for the second reading calendar. Without objection, the House will now advance to the seventh order of business. Motion, memorials, and resolutions. The House at the seventh order of business.
In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution 111 by Agricultural Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and authorizing the State Board of Education to investigate opportunities and commence preliminary conversations with the state of Utah to establish an operating agreement for Idaho students to participate in Utah's veterinary program similar to the existing program with Washington State University.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 111 will refer to the Agricultural Affairs Committee. The House will now advance to the eighth order of business. Introduction, first reading, reference of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the eighth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 529 by Education Committee, an act relating to public charter school funding, amending Section 335217 Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding the authorization of loans from the Public Charter School Revolving Loan Fund and declaring an emergency. House Bill 530 by Local Government Committee, an act relating to the Emergency Communications Act, amending Section 314803 Idaho Code to revise a provision regarding an emergency communications fee, amending Section 314804 Idaho Code to revise a provision regarding an emergency communications fee and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 531 by Transportation and Defense Committee, an act relating to motor vehicles driver's licenses, amending Section 49307 Idaho Code to provide for drivers on-road training by a qualifying parent or legal guardian and to make technical corrections, amending Section 49302 Idaho Code to provide a correct code reference, amending Section 49303 Idaho Code to provide a correct code reference and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 532 by Transportation and Defense Committee, an act relating to identification cards, amending Section 492444 Idaho Code to revise a provision regarding the issuance of certain identification cards and to make technical corrections and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 533 by Transportation and Defense Committee, an act relating to vehicle mufflers and noise prevention, amending Section 49937 Idaho Code to provide that commercial motor vehicles may idle under certain circumstances, to provide for the use of refrigeration in commercial motor vehicles in certain circumstances, and to make technical corrections and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 534 by Transportation and Defense Committee, an act relating to fuels tax, amending Section 632401 Idaho Code to define terms and to make technical corrections, amending Section 632402 Idaho Code to provide for a tax on electric fuel and to make a technical correction, amending Section 632405 Idaho Code to provide for electric fuel and to make technical corrections, amending Section 632406 Idaho Code to provide for electric fuel, amending Section 632427A Idaho Code to provide for electric fuel and to make technical corrections, amending Chapter 24, Title 63 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 632427D Idaho Code to establish provisions regarding commercial vehicle electric fuel, amending Section 632450 Idaho Code to provide for electric fuel, amending Section 632455 Idaho Code to provide for electric fuel and to make a technical correction and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 535 by Transportation and Defense Committee, an act relating to traffic enforcement, amending Section 491422 Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding fines and penalties for overtaking and passing a school bus and to provide for the use of certain monies and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 536 by Agricultural Affairs Committee, an act relating to Cervidae, amending Chapter 37, Title 25 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 253705C Idaho Code to define terms, to provide for fencing when under quarantine, to provide for hunting or slaughter during quarantine, to provide for the lifting of quarantine, and to provide for the movement of animals and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 537 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee, an act relating to lewd conduct with a minor child under 16, amending Section 181508 Idaho Code to revise a provision regarding persons who commit lewd conduct with a minor child under 16 and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 538 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to civil rights, providing legislative intent and legislative findings, amending Chapter 59, Title 67 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 675909B Idaho Code to prohibit compulsory gender language, to provide a civil cause of action for violations, and to authorize rulemaking authority and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. House Bill 539 by Education Committee, an act relating to education, amending Section 331631 Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding requirements for harassment, intimidation, and bullying information and to make technical corrections and providing an effective date.
House Bills 529, 530, 531, 532, 533, 534, 535, 536, 537, 538, and 539 referred to the Judiciary and Rules Administration Committee for printing.
In the Senate, Senate Bill 1234 by Commerce and Human Resources Committee, an act relating to insurance, amending Chapter 18, Title 41 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 411853 Idaho Code to define terms, to provide requirements for health benefit plans and student health benefit plans covering prescription contraception, and to provide that the section shall not be construed to require certain reimbursement, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. Senate Bill 1266 by Finance Committee, an act relating to appropriations to public safety for fiscal year 2025, appropriating monies to the Department of Correction for fiscal year 2025, appropriating monies to the Department of Juvenile Corrections for fiscal year 2025, appropriating monies to the Idaho State Police for fiscal year 2025, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, exempting the appropriation from specific program transfer limitations, providing reappropriation authority for the treatment of hepatitis C, providing for accountability reports, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date.
Senate Bill 1234 we referred to the Business Committee. Senate Bill 1266 we filed for the second reading. Without objection, the House now advanced 10th order of business, second reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House set 10th order of business.
February 9th, 2024, House Bill 465 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee regarding crimes against children, House Bill 417 by State Affairs Committee regarding state government and state affairs, House Bill 455 by State Affairs Committee regarding codifiers corrections.
House Bill 465, 417, and 455 we filed for third reading calendar. The House will now advance 11th order of business, third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House set the 11th order of business. Good lady from 11.
Thank you, Speaker. I ask unanimous request that we return H411 to House Ed.
Unanimous consent has been requested by the chairman to return House Bill 411 to the Education Committee. Do I hear an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The bill returned to the Education Committee. The House will now have in consideration House Bill 458. The gentleman from 8. You got the sign.
I apologize, Mr. Speaker. I was seeing which Bill 411 was as it was being called back. I apologize.
Good gentleman.
I request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 458.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you. This is a fiscal year 2025 appropriations bill providing maintenance adjustments that include personnel benefit costs, inflation, statewide cost allocation, and a 1% CEC for state employees. This one has quite a few sub-agencies in it, so I'll list those real quick. The state agencies included in this bill are the agencies organized under the State Board of Education which include agriculture research and extension services, colleges and universities, community colleges, Office of the State Board of Education, Health Education Programs, Division of Career Technical Education, Idaho Public Television, special programs, the Department of Education, Vocation and Rehabilitation, and the Charter School Commission. I think we've seen the wishes and the direction that we're going to go on these budgets, and at this point, I fully support where we are, and I request that everyone support this budget and that we move forward and continue to get the work of the people done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, good gentleman. Appreciate that. It's for debate on the motion. Good gentleman, 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the good gentleman would stand for a question.
The good gentleman yield to the question.
Gentleman yields.
Yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, good gentleman. Just as a point of clarification, under Agricultural Research and Extension Services, there have been $232,500 taken from personnel benefit costs. Could you give us a brief explanation of what that is and why they were taken from the maintenance budget?
Gentleman from 8.
We did see some reduction in benefit costs with the reduction in the amount allocated for insurance. That might be what you're getting at, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Speaker.
good gentleman. Further discussion on the motion. Good gentleman, 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
You know, this is a maintenance budget, but the fact that we're using the term maintenance bothers me. And the reason is we have had a very a lack of transparency, openness, and public disclosure regarding one of the biggest acquisitions that the state has ever made, and that is the purchase of the University of Phoenix. The Phoenix deal was announced on a Monday, or put on an agenda on a Monday, and on Wednesday it was passed. I was personally at the meeting. I was able to get to the meeting because I'm in Boise, and I saw it on Tuesday on the calendar. And there we are. I was amazed. I could not believe. Questions were not asked by the board, and it was all approved. This budget apparently needs to have more money in it so that FOIAs can be, Freedom of Information Act requests can be answered by the university and the state board, because I keep reading that, well, they need money in order to process FOIA requests. There have been a number of complaints that information, documents are not forthcoming, and therefore I can't vote for this bill, for this maintenance budget, because first of all, we appear to be maintaining a system that is not being transparent, and second, it apparently is not including enough money so that it can become transparent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Good lady from 11.
Thank you, Speaker. We've been asked to debate the bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
I understand the concerns about, I'm not probably feeling that confident about whether the term of maintenance is right either. On the other hand, we've been asked to trust the process, and with trepidation, I am choosing to do so, so I will vote in favor of the budget.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none. Gentleman from 8, care to close debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In response to the question about the University of Phoenix, that particular question is not addressed in this budget. The University of Idaho has received its full funding just like it has last year, and we'll discuss the 2025 additions in the upcoming bill. But University of Phoenix is done in a separate manner. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Debate's closed. Question is to House Bill 458, pass the House. Clerk will lock the machine and members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 56 ayes, 11 nays, 3 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 458. House Bill 458 is passed the House. Is there correction of title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 459. The gentleman from 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask to dispense with further reading of House Bill 459.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Do I hear objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to take a moment and express my support for the Madam Chair in JFAC, and also have heard that this body has defined a maintenance budget, and I fully support that and the work of the committee. Hope that you'll look to me as a resource on budgets. Happy to answer any questions you might have, and hope that we can get on with the people's business. This budget is general government budget. There are 17 budgets in this particular one. This is the FY 2025 appropriations bill providing maintenance adjustments that include personnel benefit costs. And just to address that question briefly that my good seatmate had, we've seen a reduction in health insurance costs across the board. And so you're going to see what looks like money coming out of agencies, but really it's a reduction in costs. We've gone from 14,000 some odd to 13,000 in benefit costs. So that's what you're seeing there, and that's a good thing. Inflation, statewide cost allocation, and a 1% CEC. So that's a change in employee compensation for state employees. The state agencies include the Department of Administration, Office on Aging, Commission on the Arts, Blind and Visually Impaired Commission, Office of Energy and Mineral Resources, Division of Financial Management, Division of Human Resources, Office of Information Technology Services, State Liquor Division, Military Division, PERSI, Office of Species Conservation, STEM Action Center, Wolf Depredation Control Board, the Workforce Development and Council, Board of Tax Appeals, and State Tax Commission. I would hope that you would go to the statement of purpose and look there. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them. You're seeing a 42% reduction in this budget because of the things that have been one-time items that have been taken out. You're going to see some reductions in many budgets. I think we referenced last year a pig and a python, and that pig's kind of coming out of the python, and so you're seeing net reductions in some budgets. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask for your green light after you get off the phone.
Thank you, good gentleman. Heard the motion. Further debate on the motion? Hearing none, debate's closed. Question is, shall House Bill 459 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machines. Members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Hill. Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 55 ayes, 11 nay, 4 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 459. House Bill 459 is passed the House. Is there correction of title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 460. Good lady from 23.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to request unanimous consent to stop further reading of House Bill 460.
As consent has been requested, is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to present the bill.
This is the fiscal year 2025 maintenance budget for the Public Schools Support Program. This bill includes $3,071,699,000 with $2,694,054,100 coming from the general fund. Funding in this bill is for all 7 divisions of public schools, including administrators, teachers, operations, children's programs, facilities, central services, and educational services for the deaf and blind. At a very high level, this amount of funding basically the same amount that was appropriated to public schools in the current year, with the biggest difference being no ARPA funds are included in this maintenance bill. So I would encourage your green light.
Thank you, lady. You've heard the motion. Is further debate on the motion? Gentleman from 19.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Just a brief observation from personal experience. Some of you might know that I used to work in the office of the State Board of Education. And I probably shouldn't say this out loud. But, you know, come the new year, we'd get a little nervous when the legislature would come to town. Are they going to make us do more things? Are they going to make us do new things? Are they going to give us the capacity and the personnel to administer all of these new programs? But I will tell you, we never worried about not being given the money to do the things we were told to do. And I have concerns that this bill leaves out increases that are required by us by statute. The career ladder, there's no money in this for the districts to pay for these changes, the health insurance changes. So I'm not on JFAC because I love to be able to dig deep into the policy. So I'm probably outside of my wheelhouse right now, but this is just a plain reading of this. If this is what maintenance means, that we are going to tell everybody in the educational ecosystem they have to do things, but that we're not automatically going to give them the money to do it. I don't know what maintenance means, and so I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor. Debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good ladies and gentlemen, in the spirit of transparency, I want all of us to know what is in and what is not in this bill. Obviously, what's in the bill is our 24 appropriations, the 1% placeholder for CEC, SWICAP, so on and so forth. My concern with the bill is the non-discretionary funds that have been removed from the bill. I don't know what your definition of non-discretion is, but my definition is no choice. No choice to take it out. These are some things that have been taken out of this base budget. The Idaho Educational Services for the deaf and blind replacement items and benefits, transportation, health insurance, bond equalization, lottery funds, facility state match, charter facilities, and the statutory adjustments for career ladder salaries and benefits. Well, good ladies and gentlemen, I had the great honor of serving on the Education Committee in 2019 and 2020, and we did some hard work on that committee. We set in statute the base salary for new teachers for the state of Idaho to stop the bleeding for our teachers that were leaving the state of Idaho and going to other states because of pay opportunities in those states. We worked hard to get the career ladder in statute so it couldn't be tinkered with. And now we're taking those things out of this base budget. And I just want transparency. I want people to know what's taken out, what's in, what's taken out. And I'm just going to tell you this is a red light. It's a hard red light for me on this budget. And this is the reason. I cannot turn my head and vote green and allow the Appropriations Committee to be a policy committee. And that's what I think is happening with this particular budget. We're tinkering with non-discretionary funds that are set in statute, and that is not the role of Appropriations Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. For the motion, for debate on the motion. Good lady for 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good lady stand for a question or two?
Lady yield to a question.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, good lady, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. So every year, there are teachers who may move up or down or around on the career ladder. So I think the career ladder, as it stood last year, is in this base budget. So with that, though, what about those that automatically move? How are we dealing with that in the base budget if we are not including the moves in that career ladder that are automatic?
Good lady, 23.
So the career ladder is included in the maintenance budget.
Follow up.
6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and good lady. So I understand that the base of the career ladder from last year is in there, but there are additional items because if I'm a teacher and I got promoted, I automatically have moved up to maybe another point on the ladder. So how do we say it's a base budget if that is not included in the base budget of what my raise should be because I moved up on the career ladder?
Good lady from 23.
Well, I may have to punt that particular question to the good lady from 32.
Would the lady from 32 care to yield to the question?
The lady yields.
Thank you, good lady. Lady yields, would you state your question again, please?
I certainly will, and thank you to the good ladies. My question is, if we have a career ladder and we move on that career ladder from last year to this year, it should be an automatic boost in that career ladder budget. So I'm wondering if those positions have all been included within this particular base budget.
Good lady from 23.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A good lady from 6. Thank you. Thank you. That will come in a future budget. Had we have included non-discretionary for teachers this year because of fewer students and fewer support units, this would have included a $42 million reduction. Career ladder is included. Advancements on the career ladder will come in a future bill. Thank you.
Good lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to debate the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you. Again, as the good gentleman said from 31, there are definitely some components to our base budget of K-12 that are not included that concern me. As we've talked before, I want to be as transparent as possible, but if they're not going to be included within a base budget, and if it was my raise that it was part, I would be very nervous if another budget does not get passed out of this body. So I am hoping in the future that our JFAC committee will consider those items so that we don't have the same concern going forward. I will vote for the bill, but I just wanted to state to the body I still have those concerns and hope that we will look at that in the future. Thank you.
And good ladies, for the debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In favor of the bill.
I
wanted to add some clarity to the career ladder. The career ladder has employees as they move up. If they retire, they're replaced with lower paid employees, so it's not as complex in any dollar amount to say how much is going towards raises, how much is going towards replacement employees. So it's important to understand it is a complex subject. And I'm trusting in the process that we will hear more when it comes back in the next budget.
Thank you, gentlemen. For the debate on the motion. Your gentleman 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
If this bill hits the governor's desk before any subsequent bill hits his desk before the time that the governor has to sign it, and if he signs this
Point
bill,
of order.
Good lady for 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's the man on the second floor.
Oh, yes,
or the
thank
gentleman
you.
on the second floor.
Oh, yes, I apologize. Thank you very much, good lady.
Good lady
Yes,
for recognizing that, 'cause I make that.
yes. if this bill hits,
Continue, good gentleman from 50.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start. I apologize to the body for that error. Let me start over. If this bill hits the desk of the gentleman on the second floor, and the second follow-up bill does not hit until after the signing deadline, the time he has to sign this bill becomes the state education budget. There is no guarantee that a second bill, no one in this body can guarantee that a second bill will hit the governor's desk or what might be in that bill. And I just cannot trust, where I hear about trusting the process. I cannot trust a process that has never existed before, has never been tried, and has such monumental impact as a result. So for me, I cannot vote for this bill, and I cannot trust a process that hasn't been proven to be a good, sound process.
Thank you, gentlemen. For the motion, is for debate on the motion. Good lady from 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the bill.
He has the floor to debate in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill includes everything schools got last year, minus federal funds, as the good lady mentioned, and all the things that were listed by the good gentleman from 35 will be properly, 31, thank you, properly evaluated by the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee and determined whether to include or not. One of the additional complications of this budget this year is there are a lot of policy bills moving through the education committees that also have fiscal impacts and would impact how we fund education. So we are not passing policy at all in the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee. We are in fact waiting for the germane committees to do their jobs so that those that have impacts on the budget can be taken into account in the next budget to come. For your information, public schools have received an additional $263 million new this year in the current budget year over what they received last year. We'll receive new information next week on what the current numbers, all of that money has been distributed because of the way our funding structure works on who they taught and who they hired last year. Even so, it's $263 million more than the previous year. So we'll continue to monitor what our student enrollment counts do, what our support unit counts do. We were down almost 700 support units this year, which would have been nice to know that last year so we could have accounted for that in the budget at the time. But we will continue to press forward, awaiting more data, awaiting policy decisions from the House Education Committee. I hope that you can give your green light to this education bill that supports our students and teachers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Mr. Speaker, for a question from the good lady from 32.
Good lady 32 yields to a question.
The lady yields.
Lady yields.
I'm in close. Most of you know that I was in education in the state of Idaho, public schools for 33 years, so it's very clear that it's close to my heart. And I'm hearing from my superintendents in my area, in my district, and even those around my district, that they're still waiting on some of that money that I was not in the legislature in August, or excuse me, September of, maybe it was August, of when most of you voted to provide an extra $35 million to schools. I'm going to make an assumption that was to keep the initiative from making the ballot, which it did. Most of them are still waiting on quite a bit of that money, and a lot of it is because of the enrollment, changing from enrollment to attendance. I think we should have been a little more foresighted last year to realize that it was going to drop. I don't think anybody thought it was going to drop 700, but I think we knew it was going to drop considerably by changing how we were paying schools for their students. My question to the good lady is, when will the schools see that the $165 million that they have not yet seen? That's the latest number I heard. It may be a different number now. When do you expect we will see the bill to provide those funds? Because many districts paid for that out of supplementals, out of reserves, out of other programs in order to give those raises and do the things that were promised. So when will we see a bill that includes that money that they were due last year that they've yet to receive?
Late 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman from
25.
25, thank you. My apologies. School districts have only received 2 of their payments. We have a payment schedule that they haven't received their February payment yet. So I will be happy to forward this chart out that shows exactly how much each school district has gotten for this year. The funding can only be distributed according to the law. And the law right now is average daily attendance. So we can only distribute those funds according to the law. And we, in our work groups, are discussing options that would enable us to use those funds in different manner to distribute, but I can't tell you what I can tell you is the group's working on it. What I can't tell you is exactly where they will land, but we can only distribute according to the law, and the law right now is average daily attendance.
Good lady, first to jump 25.
Will the good lady submit to one more question?
Good lady yields another question.
The lady yields.
Lady yields.
Is it possible for us to go in this year to adjust last year's number of support units that we expect so that the amount for each support unit is increased?
Good lady from 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman from 25. We can fund based on the students that are attending. That's what we can do in accordance with the law. We can potentially make other adjustments and distribute perhaps through discretionary, perhaps through technology or bills that might come out of the Germain Policy Committee, but we can only distribute according to the law and what the current number of support units and students is.
John, 25.
Thank you. To debate the bill.
Bill has for debate the bill.
I came up today expecting to vote yes on each one of these bills. Some of the good members from the JFAC committee had spoken to me. They wanted to begin the healing. But this one I can't. And I know it's probably going to pass anyway, and I understand that. But I can't go to the meeting if we're out of here by 12:30, where we have a Zoom meeting with our area superintendents, and tell them that I supported a bill that is not complete. Just as some of the other good members of this body have talked about, there's no guarantee those trailer bills are going to pass. And if they don't pass, we've just cut education by quite a bit because there's money there that they need. And I think that's probably every one of these budgets. Like I said, I'm willing to begin the healing, but not on my education, not on my schools, not where I spent a majority of my life. Well, I'm old enough now, so it wasn't a majority of life, but it wasn't for most of my life. It was the majority of my life. I can't vote yes on this one. I will be voting yes on the others, but I can't potentially short the public schools of Idaho. Thank you.
Thank you, Jones. First debate on the motion. Gentleman 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good lady from 32 yield to a question?
Lady 32 yield.
The lady yields.
Lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good lady from District 32. I know that we've heard a lot about the sort of reformation of how things are getting done in JFAC this year. Did the working groups assigned to education, are they responsible for creating this maintenance budget?
Lady 32.
Mr. Speaker, representative from 26, the entire committee voted on this budget in committee according to the standards that we have previously described. Everything from last year, public schools is unique in that it doesn't actually have replacement items, and it only does CEC for administrators and classified staff, so there's a 1% placeholder in this for them, but the career ladder is handled separately, and the funding is in there for that. So this budget is the work of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee according to the parameters that we had determined for what's in and what will come in the second bill.
Item 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You don't know the answer to.
No, a follow-up question, if I may.
Would the good lady from 32 care to answer a follow-up question?
The lady yields.
Lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, the working groups work on line items, and the entire committee works on maintenance budgets. Am I understanding it correctly?
Lady 32.
Mr. Speaker, a good gentleman from
Still 26.
26, thank you. Any member of the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee can work on any budget anytime they want. We have working groups, and that's no different than any previous year, 100% the same. What is different about the working groups is that they're meeting in the mornings now instead of at 7 a.m., noon, or 10 p.m. So I can't bifurcate who did what when, because I'm not in all of the working group meetings, and individual members can do individual work on budgets anytime they want. So I can't, perhaps you could clarify your question to get to the heart of what you really want to know.
Good gentleman from 26, do you want to ask a different way?
Mr. Speaker, yes, thank you. I'll try and re-clarify here. I feel like when we were, all kind of talked to about this process when the emails went out in the fall, the working groups were going to be working on, sort of their lanes, right, that they were working in, and understanding that folks could still bring, alternate motions, that sort of thing. But I'm just trying to clarify if the committee as a whole works on the maintenance budgets, and then the folks in the individual working groups, generally speaking, understanding that things can still happen with alternate motions, they're working on the line items that we will be seeing subsequently.
Late 32.
Mr. Speaker, a good gentleman from 26. We consider, when we're in our working groups or when we're meeting individually, we consider all of the funding in context. So I don't think it's accurate to say that if a working group meets, they're only considering line items, because they have to understand what's in the maintenance in order to consider line items. So I still am not sure what exactly it is you would like me to say, but we...
I'm feeling better about it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, further debate on the motion. Bill 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate in favor of the bill.
Gentleman has the floor, debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to address real briefly the gentleman from District 25's question. I believe he was referencing the $170 million differential in the fiscal year 2024 budget from last year's fiscal budget that we set. There is I'm on the working group that the good lady mentioned working on this issue for the K through 12 school budget. And there is a request from the superintendent for one way to fix that problem. There's a recommendation from the governor for another way to solve that problem, and I'm sure that we will come up with our own way to solve that problem. I am confident that we will do something about that issue. It's going to take a little bit of work to get there, but I think that we will get that done. And in the meantime, I would encourage a green light on this bill. This is the fiscal year 2025 budget, not the 2024 budget that school districts I know are complaining about right now.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Going once. Gentleman 13. What would you like to do?
Mr. Speaker, question for the good lady from District 23.
Good lady from 23, yield to a question.
Lady yields.
Lady yields.
Very good, Mr. Speaker, good lady. We've heard a lot, so I'm somewhat confused, trying to make the question simple. So the JFAC members and this process, are you considering statutory adjustments to be standalone items?
Good lady 23.
Could you rephrase that, please?
13.
Good lady, if I were a budget and a statutory item, would you put me in as a separate line item?
Well, how about if I just repeat, this is a maintenance budget. It's everything that this body approved last year, minus the ARPA funds. And this body will get a chance to vote on more, I can assure you, in coming weeks. Does that help?
Gentleman for 13.
To debate?
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
I don't know if that helps. We've talked about context, and we've had some comments with regard to having these follow. I don't know that there's a name yet for the follow-up bills, but context is important, and it seemed like it still would have been a good idea to have those along with these. You know, context is important. You take money and time. If I made $10,000, you may say, well, that's great or that's terrible. I made $10,000 last year. Not so great. I made $10,000 yesterday. That's great. That's context. You know, one of Kenny's 1-minute lessons. But the context would be nice when we could see these together, see the impact, be able to plug them in, take them out. I'm still waiting to see what I do, but that's been recommended, and the context, you know, is important. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. For debate on the motion. Gentleman 26.
Just one consideration for the committee as they look at process, and that pertains to the representative, good representative.
Mr. Speaker.
21.
Gentlemen, good lady.
Point of order.
Lady.
I believe we're debating the bill.
Good point. And the good gentleman, are you debating the bill or are we doing context?
I will realign and debate the bill.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
As per discussion here and on past bills, policy is wonderful to me when we make mistakes on money and we vote on a bill. That's true heartburn. My concern is having a mistake, and the $160 million mistake that didn't go out, that's not one I'm very comfortable with. Whether we spend it or not is beside the point. And the correlation would be local property taxes. When we pass a bond, we don't vote on the mill levy. We vote on the amount that's to be raised. Our assessors adjust the mill levy with the available funds. We end up with what we have to build a new school or whatever we do. I would be a lot more comfortable with this bill is instead of setting the method, like arguing between attendance and enrollment, is simply when we appropriate the money clearly in the bill, if we want $10 to go out the door, that we set the formula so the $10 actually goes out the door. As to the good representative from 30's point, that's a little bit more policy, but it also pertains to how we set up and put the bucks out the door. So when we get done here, my wish with these budgets is that it's absolutely clear. Whether we spent $1 or $10, when it goes through the floor, we know exactly that amount of money is going out. Thank you.
You can jump 26 for debate on the motion. Lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just for a quick point of order.
Point of order.
I actually have a question. In 10 years, I feel like I've heard probably 30 debates where people are debating the process that underlies the bill. Is that out of order? Is it not acceptable to debate process in addition to content in the bill?
Lady, I probably let it go too far when I let it go to the process originally. It needs to stay to the bill. But because I let it get that far, I've let it continue to go there, hoping that you guys would get tired of talking to each other about the process and vote on the bill. But it's not working that way. So probably on the next bill, we will just stick to the bill. With that, you bring up a good point, good lady from 18. Good gentleman, 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could, point of order.
Gentleman has the floor for point of order.
And for a privilege, maybe, at the same time. Questions regarding debate, I would just refer you to chapter 10, section 100. If you guys go through that on Masons, there's quite a bit about that I think that are pertinent. We're probably pushing lines. Specifically, when we talk about process, on 5 it says, neither is it in order to refer to proceedings of a committee unless the committee has formally reported its proceedings to the House. So that's, I think, where we're talking about how you got to the spot. Unless there's a formal report, we really should try to refrain from that. There's also some sections in here that we skirt as well when it comes to making statements of fact while we're asking questions at the same time. So I would just encourage everybody to kind of review our Masons. It'll probably help clear up some of those questions.
Thing working. This is continued debate. Lay 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate for the second time.
Is there anybody who would like to debate the bill for the first time? Hearing none, lady has the floor to debate for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I failed to recall that the School for the Deaf and Blind does have replacement items. So I apologize for that. Public schools do not request their funding in that structure. Mr. Speaker, it is not a mistake that all the money for public schools has not gone out yet. It's February, and additional payments are forthcoming in the current year. We have a request for supplemental that we are considering in JFAC. Again, they're at $263 million more right now with fewer students than they were last year at this time. There will be additional funding coming in a future bill, but the reason they don't have all their money yet is because it's February and not all the checks have been sent to the districts yet. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I would again recommend your green light on this bill. Thank you.
Further debate on the motion for the second time. The Speaker would encourage the members to look at House Rule 39. It talks about some of the stuff that we've been discussing here. Good gentleman, 15.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I understand the distinction between the bill and the process, but I must say that the mere existence of this bill speaks to the unprecedented process itself.
Gentlemen, debating for the second time?
No, a point of order. No, it was a point of order. And so my point is that I think it's absolutely within bounds to discuss the process that's the unprecedented process that is resulting in the bill that's in front of us. If this was the normal JFAC process,
I would encourage you to do what I just recommended and look at House Rule number 39. Is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none. Good late 23, care to close?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, this is a great maintenance budget, and you can rest assured you'll be seeing more budgets in the future pertaining to public schools, and this body will get to decide on them then.
Thank you, lady. Debate is closed. Question is, House Bill 460 passed the House. Clerk will unlock the machine, and the members record the votes. Has every member voted? Does any members change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine, record the roll. 53 ayes, 14 nays, 3 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 460. House Bill 460 has passed the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved and the bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 397. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to suspend further reading of House Bill 397.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is going to be one of those rare occasions where I actually talk quite a bit on a bill because I think it's important to know the history. This What this bill does is it changes the immunization reminder information system from the opt-out back to the opt-in that it was originally instituted as. In 1999, that was when it was added as an opt-in to Idaho state statute. It addressed childhood immunizations, childhood only, that's what the statute says. In 2010, there was a Senate bill that changed it from opt-in to opt-out, which means everybody's automatically entered into the system potentially without their knowledge, and that's what happened to me in my case. What I found was that I had initially opted out when my children were younger, because it was prior to 2010, and then when 2010 happened, they were opted in without my knowledge or permission to the state data collection system. I didn't find that out until I went for a series of vaccinations for one of my kids. So I was one of those moms, a lot of you will not be surprised, that is pretty OCD about keeping track of my kids' medical records. And I had my little yellow card, and I went to go get a vaccination, the second in a series, and then was told, oh wait, this is the first one, because they had not recorded it in the system. And that's how I found out that my child was even in the system. No notice, it was just an opt-out. And so I had opted out early without opting in, but they went ahead and opted me in. So in 2017, because in 2017, we also tried to add adults to this statute. Now keep in mind, it was initially for children, right? Kids' data on immunizations only. In 2017, with House Bill 91, they tried to include adults. That bill failed. In 2018, I showed up and tried to get a parental notification so that you knew that you had to opt out every time you got an immunization. That passed the House, died in the Senate in committee. Actually, didn't even make it to a hearing in committee. Then, in 2021, during COVID, House leadership sent a letter because what was happening was the Department of Health and Welfare was collecting all data, not just kids anymore, all data, adult data as well. And it wasn't within their statutory authority, but they did it anyway. House leadership with Senate leadership, we all sent a letter, and we were denied, and they continued to collect the data. The reason that they had changed this initially in 2010 from an opt-in to an opt-out, the excuse that was given was that it's going to improve childhood immunization rates. That was what we were told. Well, I'm telling you, in 2024, where we sit right now, immunization rates continue to drop for children. It had absolutely zero effect on childhood immunization rates. So from 2019 to 2020, we had an 86.5 immunization rate among kids under 13, and please keep in mind, that was the original target of this system, right? Immunization rate for children. It also dropped to 80.2% in 2021-22. IRIS has zero effect on childhood immunizations. What it does have an effect on is the government is collecting your data without your knowledge. That's what's happening. It is not a transparent process. You only have the ability to opt out if you know how to do it. You have to go online, you have to know that you've been opted in, and then you have to fill out the form to opt back out. That's why I'm bringing this bill. It should be an opt-in process. This should be transparent. I think with all of the news stories that we've heard over time about data collection, you should at least know that the government's collecting your data, and right now that's not the situation we're in. So, Mr. Speaker, this is probably more than I've talked in a long time on a bill, but I would really appreciate your green light.
Thank you, good lady. Heard the motions, heard the debate on the motion. Good lady 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the bill.
Lady has the floor, debate in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sincerely appreciate this bill, and I would like to add my support to the good lady. My kids get opted back in every time I go in for an immunization, and then you have to go through the work of opting out. That's a deterrent. So this is a great bill.
Hey, good ladies, for the debate on the motion. Hearing none and hearing no negative debate, question is, shall House Bill 397 pass the House? Oh, sorry, I did not see you. The speaker will pull back. Good lady from 17.
To debate the bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you. As a mother, I rely heavily on my kids' electronic medical records, including IRIS, to make sure I'm on track and that they're on track. And for accuracy, I don't want this knowledge to be bouncing around in my head or on a paper. Currently, it's easy for the minority of families who choose to opt out to do so, and in fact, fewer than 1,000 have chose to do that since 2010. We don't need to be spending the estimated $10 million that would be spent to change this system to accommodate this small population. And the reality is that this change would actually weaken our already debilitated health systems. We've heard from providers that this would be an undue burden on them and their administrative staff. We're already facing a shortage of providers in the state, and particularly in our rural communities, and we don't need to be making their jobs any harder. And the reality is this change will have very real consequences. For example, my father-in-law, Jerry, used a wheelchair as a result of a polio infection as a child. The U.S. eradicated polio in 1994, but this was a 40-year battle. And the U.S. may have eradicated it, but there are 12 countries that have not. And it is very possible that in the near future we will see a resurgence of this or any other communicable diseases in our country because of our low vaccination rates. Repeatedly kneecapping our public health system is going to come back to bite us, and I ask you to please ask for your red light on this bill.
A good lady, and the speaker would remind our good friends not to read your debate. Is there further debate on the motion? The gentleman from 11.
Question for the good lady from 8.
Good lady from 8, you have a question.
Lady yields.
Lady yields.
Good lady, in this legislation, does this apply retroactively? Would this require them to clean this up, or is this from today forward kind of situation?
Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is from when it's enacted. There's no retroactive cause, so that's true. If you have already opted your child in and want the government to keep track of your immunization records, this wouldn't affect that at all.
Good gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Lady from 19.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Floor to debate the bill.
Thank you. This system is really helpful to kids, families, and providers. It helps reduce duplicative immunizations because it's one source that providers can go to find out if a kid's already gotten a vaccination. If we don't have to give a kid a vaccination twice, that reduces healthcare costs. It reduces stress for parents. The current system is an optimal default. We're creating a good system that parents don't have to worry about. They don't have to fill out a form to opt into this system that when they had to do this, 95% of them did it because they wanted it, and it was beneficial. The bureaucratic tape that we're putting into healthcare delivery systems by making this opt-in is going to be costly and burdensome. This means your small, rural pediatric office is going to have to set up 2 different systems, a system for kids who are just going to be an iris, and then a whole other system to track the immunizations for all of those other kids. They're going to have to set up the waiver, the sign-in system that the parents are going to have to go through to opt in. This is just it's an optimal default. If people want to if they want to opt out, they can opt out. But the other benefit is that we don't know, if we don't know in an area how many kids are immunized and then an infectious disease comes in, we don't know how to respond. If we know that 99% of the kids are vaccinated and it's no problem, then we don't have to worry about it. There's herd immunity, but we need to have a much different kind of a response if an infectious disease breaks out that's vaccine preventable, and 57% of the kids. The weakness of, I think the potential weakness of iris is bad for keeping kids just healthy and fighting disease. Let's remember why we have vaccinations in the first place. My mother's a polio survivor. I don't want to go back to that world where kids couldn't get access to things that will keep them alive. So I urge your red light.
Thank you, ladies. For debate on the motion. Hearing none. Debate is closed. Would the good lady from 8 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just note that if you want the government to collect your data, They will gladly do it for you if you opt in. Every time. If you want them to have information about you, you're welcome to give them your information. What this is about is making sure that you know where your data is going. That's what it is, pure and simple. We shouldn't be afraid to make people's jobs harder so a system is transparent. You should know what you're doing. You should know where your medical data is going. And like I said before, if you want to opt into the system, that's just fine. If you want your kids' information on a government database, great, knock yourself out. What this does is makes the system transparent and gives parents a choice in what they want to participate in. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd love your green light.
Thank you, good lady. Debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 397 pass the House? Clerk will lock the machine and members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Handy. Gannon. Seeing rest change their vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 56 ayes, 11 nay, 3 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 397. House Bill 397 is passed the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Gentleman from 1.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 399 hold its place on the third reading calendar one legislative day.
Till Monday. Unanimous consent has been requested to hold House Bill 399 on the third reading calendar until Monday. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The bill will be held. House will have under consideration House Bill 475. Good lady from 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 475.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the maintenance budget for the legislative branch. It includes the base increases for insurance, fees, and a 1% placeholder for CEC, and I would ask for your green light.
For the motions, for debate on the motion. Hearing none, debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 475 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Walton. Raybold. Green. Seeing members change their vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 56 ayes, 11 nay, 3 absent and excused. Majority have voted in favor of House Bill 475. House Bill 475 has passed the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transferred to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 424. Good lady from 4.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that we cease further reading of House Bill 424.
As it has been requested, is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you. This bill is about mobile home community association notification. So let me give you some background on this. I had a council member back home that is working on workforce housing. And she was contacted by an industry representative that brought forward this idea that maybe it could help with this issue in our area. Currently, if there is a mobile home association, community association, they have to notify the landowner that they're interested in buying the land that their mobile home sits on, and they have to do this annually. In the way the current legislation is written is that the notification happens when the property is listed. A lot of these sales are private sales, so it never gets listed. So this homeowners association is not notified that the property is going up for sale. So what this legislation is trying to do is to change it so that when the landowner intends, or 15 days prior to them signing a purchase agreement, that they notify this association. So there is nothing in this legislation that tells the landowner that they must take an offer from the association, nor does it say that they're required to take this offer from the association. It is just a tool that these communities could possibly use to own the land that their mobile home sits on. And with that, I encourage your green light.
Thank you, good lady. You've heard the motion. Is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none, good lady for 32.
Would the good lady yield to a question?
Good lady yield to a question.
Lady yields.
Lady yields.
Can you explain to me what you mean by intends? What the definition of that is?
Good lady from 4.
Thank you, good lady from 32. There is no definition of intends, and when I talked to the industry representatives, I had the same questions. And so the intends is to encourage the landowner, when they intend to sign a purchase agreement, that they notify the association.
Lady 32.
To debate the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
I appreciate the intent of this. My concern has to do with the definitions. If I'm a landowner and I think and I make a plan and that say in 4 years I'm going to sell my property, the question becomes is when did I intend to sell that property? Do I intend to sell that property? Is that when I have to notify him, or do I have to notify him the minute that I might go put it up for sale? And I think that because intends is a little bit open there, I have some concern with this bill.
Thank you, ladies. For debate on the motion. Gentleman from 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a potential rule lady at some point, I may sell a mobile home park, and then also to debate the bill.
Thank you, good gentleman. Your declaration of rule lady will be notified in the journal, and the good gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There had been some discussion about this bill kind of bouncing around just before the session. I reached out to a friend who does this specifically. He sells mobile home parks all across the country. And he said that this would have no bearing on making it more difficult for sellers to sell their parks. And I did talk to him about intends as well. And, I think generally what we could refer to is if folks are, if they're meeting with a real estate professional, they're probably intending at that point. And that's kind of when that declaration would go out. So just a little bit of clarity there.
Good job. For debate on the motion. Gentleman 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Last floor, debate the bill.
At the risk of triggering a few red lights, I do support this legislation. My district is only 12 square miles, but I can tell you that there are a lot of mobile home communities in my district, and I hear this concern quite a bit from some of my constituents as well, and I do think this is good legislation. Thank you.
Very good, gentlemen. For the motion. Is there further debate on the motion? Good lady from 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in support of this bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate in favor of the
I,
bill.
too, have had multiple issues in my district with people sending me emails with concern about living in manufactured home parks. And I think this is just a small step in the right direction to help those people and give those people an opportunity to maybe purchase the land that their manufactured home sits on. So I will recommend a green light on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. For debate on the motion. Gentleman 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Declare Rule 80.
The gentleman's declaration be noted in the journal.
And debate the bill.
31. Debate the bill. The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do many real estate transactions every year, and I'm concerned with the word intends, and I was concerned in committee as well. Do I intend to sell this property? I actually buy property, and I intend to sell it immediately, or as soon as possible, most of the time. And so if it goes 2 or 3 months, I'm still intending on selling this property. Do I notify them weekly? Do I notify them daily? Do I notify them monthly that my intention is to sell? How often do I notify them? It says in here, and we crossed it out, that when they have a listing, on a real estate listing, that's a transactional event. That's something that means you're willing to sell, you have a buyer and hopefully you have a buyer and you're a willing seller. But when you intend to sell, that's really nebulous. It really is up in question. So are you in violation if I intended but I didn't tell them? Are you in violation if I kind of thought about it? Intends is a probably problematic word in the law. It's not a legal term. It's not something that you can hang your hat on. I would suggest we take this back. I'm not making a motion. Just a suggestion. Take this back. Find a better word. Find something that means something in the real estate law that you can hang your hat on, because this doesn't quite do it for me. I'll be a red light.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 28.
Thank you, Speaker. I kind of see this as a private property's right, and I believe the owner of the property should be able to sell as quickly or as long as he wants to. There's already statutes in place about evictions and when notice has to be given. So I'm firmly a no on this, because it limits the private property of the person that owns these lots. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I stand in support of the motion. And I intend to explain myself and add some clarity to the word intends. It is in the dictionary, and unless it's a legal term, that's the definition that we go by. If we do not pass this bill, it reverts back to a statement that before someone lists the property, they must notify the association. So what this bill is doing is saying, before you sign an agreement for sale, let the association know 15 days in advance. Now, when you intend to list a property, that doesn't assure that there's a sale, but in this case, it's before you sell the property, before you sign that final agreement, make sure you've given at least 15 days to your tenants of the property so they can execute. Now, they only have to do that if the tenants of the property through their association have notified the owner that they're interested in buying the property if you ever put it up for sale. And they have to do that every year. So I hope my intentions were met, and I intend to vote for this bill.
Thank you, good gentleman. You've heard the motion. Is there further debate on the motion? Gentleman 31.
To debate second time.
Good gentleman that wishes to debate for the second time. Is there anybody who wishes to debate for the first time? Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill for the second time.
Oh, I do?
You're up.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Nobody behind you. The good lady from 18's on the phone. You're safe. Continue your debate.
Thanks. I just wanted to, I didn't know if I intended to sit down or not. I actually like the definition that the good gentleman from 25 said, that if you're about to list it, or if you're engaged with a real estate agent, or your intention is to list that property, then let them know. But that's not what it says. And there's nowhere in here where it talks about that. But that would be a really good addition to this bill. But just to leave it open-ended and say, I intend, for me, that doesn't do it. I think that someone could come up and say, I intended to tell you that I was going to list it, I just forgot. Do you see where that's going? So, we could make this bill better. I like the idea. I like the protection it offers, but it just doesn't reach the law, in my opinion.
Good gentlemen, is there anybody who wishes to debate the bill for the second time? Hearing none, would the good lady from 4 declare to close the debate, please?
Mr. Speaker, can I ask unanimous consent to send this bill to general orders?
She asked unanimous consent. Good, gentlemen, we're good. Unanimous, but you can second it anyways. After we went through yesterday, that's pretty funny, by the way. Is there an objection to the unanimous consent request to send the bill to general order? Hearing no objection, the bill will be referred to general orders. House, the gentleman from 1.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that we hold House Bill 445 one legislative day. On the third reading calendar, of course.
You mean Monday, right? The good gentleman would like to ask unanimous consent to hold House Bill 445 on the third reading calendar until Monday.
That is correct. Until Monday, I will amend that unanimous consent request.
Thank you, good gentleman. Unanimous consent has been requested to hold the bill on third reading calendar until Monday. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill will be held on third reading calendar until Monday. The House will now have before it House Bill 449. Good gentleman, 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that we abandon further reading of House Bill 449.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The gentleman has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me explain what Bill 449 does. So there are some people that are out there taking 2 homeowners exemptions when the law says you should only take 1. What this does is it increases our property taxes for the rest of us, the way that the property tax system works. Now, even though this is already illegal, it still occurs because there's really no specific penalty attached for doing that. So what this bill does is several things. 1, it creates a specific penalty for a violation of taking 2 homeowners exemptions. The penalty is an amount equal to the taxes due. So if you had gotten away with paying $500 less, you need to pay those $500 back plus a penalty of another $500. You're essentially losing your homeowner's exemption for that year. Now, if you do it again in any subsequent violations, it's a misdemeanor. Additionally, what this does is it prescribes the information to be collected so that the counties can actually tell that John Doe in County A is the same John Doe in County B. Assists the counties in analyzing that information. It also allows for an appeal process similar to any other appeal process with property tax bills in case you feel that this wasn't fairly assessed against you. And then the last thing that it does is it allows for this information sharing with the Secretary of State's office to verify this information for voting registration purposes and candidate qualification purposes, meaning we're making sure people aren't voting in 2 different counties or running for office in a place that isn't their primary residence. With that, Mr. Speaker and good body, I'd ask for your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've heard the motion. Is further debate on the motion? Hearing none, and hearing no negative debate, debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 449 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine, and the members will cast their votes. Monks. Birch. Green. Let's say green. One more time. Does anybody wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 52 ayes, 15 nays, 3 absent and excused. The majority having voted in favor of House Bill 449. House Bill 449 is passed the House. Is there a correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 450. Good lady from 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of the bill.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to debate to present the bill.
Thank you. I'm so grateful that this is quite a simple bill having to do with activity funds set up at the school level. This comes to you on behalf of many principals from across the state. Currently, activity funds are accounts set up at the school level, and in statute, to be able to disperse those funds, it has to be done with a bank check, a good old-fashioned check. And so there are many vendors across the state and in our communities that don't accept paper checks any longer. It really hampers their ability to buy pizza for student council or be able to buy the materials needed for a STEM night, what have you. All this adds to it is a debit or a credit card associated with the account. And with that, I ask for your green light.
You've heard the motion. The debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Mr. Speaker, debate in favor of the motion.
The gentleman has the floor. Debate in favor of the bill.
As I stated in my earlier debate, I was a principal for 17 years. I will admit I did something I'm not proud of at this point, but at that point in time, we didn't have a choice. You had to use a check. And if you send groups of students out on a field trip, and sometimes they're going more to one place, and sometimes parents pick up kids in between, and so you don't know the exact amount that needs to be on each check. I will admit I sometimes sent checks that I had signed without an amount on the check because I didn't have another choice. To get the kids into the event, I had to pay for them ahead of time, and there were places that didn't invoice, so you either did it this way. This would have been such a good help to just send a debit card with that teacher or that sponsor that they had been approved to utilize that card through my school board or whatever process each school uses. I think this would be a great help. And I don't think she said it this time, but she said it in committee. Bring it into the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. For the motion, is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none and hearing no negative debate, question is, debate is closed. Question is House Bill 450 pass the House? Clerk will mark the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Crane 13. Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 66 ayes, 0 nays, 4 absent and excused. The majority having voted in favor of House Bill 450. House Bill 450 has passed the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 452. The gentleman 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 452.
Has consent been requested? Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a new funding formula for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy. Just to put some context in here, let me talk about the old funding formula for IDLA. The old funding formula for IDLA, it was written about 10 years ago, and it was a kind of complicated calculation based on the entire K-12 support system budget. And that included everything from how we pay teachers to how we pay for school transportation and facilities. Of course, Idaho Digital Learning Academy doesn't have some of those things, and so it doesn't make sense to tie IDLA's funding to the way that we fund other schools as a whole. And so this was an issue that was identified in working groups in JFAC in previous years, and I worked with the superintendent of the Digital Learning Academy as well as the Department of Ed and our LSO budget staff to come up with a new formula that would work. And it makes it significantly simpler and more transparent on how we're funding them. Essentially, we backed into a dollar amount to give IDLA per enrollment. That's $430, and that amount is going, when multiplied by their current enrollments, is going to fund them at a level that can sustain their current operations. Going forward, what will happen is JFAC will be compelled to consider giving them an adjustment every year during the CEC process to keep them up with teacher salaries. IDLA's main expense is for salaries for teachers. They obviously don't have the same kind of structure as the rest of schools, and so what this formula does is every year JFAC will go in and make a change to that $430 number to compensate for the change in employee compensation. We also added in here that a definition for enrollment. And just to clarify, this is very different from the enrollment versus ADA discussion for the broader K-12 formula. IDLA has its own definition, and in here we say that an enrollment only counts as long as a student is enrolled until through the drop deadline. So if a student enrolls and then drops out immediately, they would not count, and IDLA would not receive funding for that bill. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has, and I would encourage a green light.
Thank you, Gentleman 21. You've heard the motion. Is further debate on the motion? Hearing none. Debate is closed. The question is, shall House Bill 452 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine and members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Lanting. Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 64 ayes, 1 nay, 5 absent, excused. Majority haven't voted in favor of House Bill 452. House Bill 452 has passed the House. Is there a correction title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title approved. Bill be transmitted to the Senate. Good lady, the House will now have before it House Bill 454. Good lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good body. This bill has a couple of issues. I'm sorry. Please, I'm asking for unanimous consent to cease reading of House Bill 454. Thank you, my good friends.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The good lady has the floor to present.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, folks, I just want to point out a couple things before I get started. And when this was presented in committee, it was met with good comments. However, a good colleague of mine down this row, we worked on a couple of things. And as you see in the title, it is reading that it's the Advanced Opportunity Scholarship. And we updated the SOP, but it didn't make it into the record. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that the title really is Advanced Opportunities under the Advanced Opportunity Scholarship Act. So I don't know if I'll let the good folks at the head of the table there decide if we need to change that. So what this bill does is, as we know, we have the advanced opportunities that are available to our high school students for dual credit and so forth. And under the law, you'll see that the career and technical education portion of the advanced opportunities allows for a student to take courses and that they can spend up to $1,000 per year. And at the time we put this in place, it was $500 a course. Well, with inflation, all the things that are happening, some of the courses that are being offered for workforce training are a little more expensive than $500. So what this is proposing to do is to just give a little more flexibility for a student so that they may take a course that may be over that $500. And I'd like to give you just a little bit of an example of where this is coming from. And so right now, many of our districts have beautiful career and technical centers, but some of us do not. And this particular idea came from a good lady that is in Moscow High School. She teaches career and technical courses and wanted to offer a CNA course for Moscow High School students. They partnered with Gritman Memorial Hospital and Lewis Clark State College to offer a course so that the Moscow students would get a CNA course. Now, many of us in our CTE programs at home, they have that already. These students do not have that opportunity, so they are using or would like to utilize this opportunity, advanced opportunities, to take this course. The course in Moscow is about $800. So this was causing some challenges, and students were not able to sign up. So we looked at what could we do. We didn't want to change the total. We left the total of $1,000 per year, but are just giving them that opportunity to spend that $1,000 in a way that fits the courses that they can take. So as I dug into this a little deeper, this is happening in many areas with other courses as well. So this would be a big help to students and to our high schools that do not have a full complement of career and technical courses. So I really would ask that you give this your green light. You will notice one other thing on the statement of purpose. It does say, the first time we looked at this, we said we didn't think there'd be any fiscal note. The new one does say there is a chance there could be with new students, and we estimated between 50 and 150 students possibly might take another course. However, there's always the chance that the students that were in the budget the last year may not take a course. So it's really hard to determine. But if 150 students were to take this, the fiscal note would be about $75,000 to that advanced opportunities. So with that, I just want to be transparent, but there'll be a new SOP that will come, and our secretary was out, and I just don't think it all transpired, so I would ask for your green light, or we'll be happy to stand for questions. Thank you.
Hey, good lady, for the motion, is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none? Debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 454 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine, and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any members change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 65 ayes, 5 nays, 5 absent and excused. 65 ayes, 0 nays, 5 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 454. House Bill 454 has passed the House. There's a correction to title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Gentleman from 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 435 hold its place in the third reading calendar until Monday, February 12th.
Unanimous consent is requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I also ask unanimous consent that House Bill 403 hold its place on the third reading calendar until Monday, February 12th.
Consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. House will now have before it House Bill 444. Good gentleman, 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that we waive further reading of House Bill 444.
Consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good body. There was a lady named Geraldine Tyler. She was an elderly lady living by herself in Minnesota. She fell behind on her property taxes and owed $2,300. That, because of penalties and interest, turned into $15,000. The county came, and they rightfully could, took over her property for back taxes. They sold it for $40,000, and instead of taking their $15,000 and giving her the remainder, they kept all $40,000. That seems unfair. She took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won her case last year at the age of 94, a unanimous victory in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said we can't do this. Idaho, thankfully, is doing a pretty good job with this, except we have a loophole. And what this bill does is closes the loophole on what's called home equity theft. So in this case, in Idaho, for a county, if the county takes over the property, what existing law says is instead of selling it at market value, they can transfer it to another government entity and not give the proceeds back to the taxpayer. So what this does, simple bill, cleans up the language that says if the property was acquired by taking over from back taxes, then they can't transfer it to a government entity. Essentially, they have to sell it and then give the market value back after they've collected the taxes owed. So I've worked with the counties on this to get the language just right so it's narrow and doesn't impact the counties any other way, and they're on board with it, and I would ask for your green light. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Is further debate on the motion? Joe, 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remember reading about this case from Minnesota last year. I had a
Gentleman rise.
the debate, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Sorry, jumped the gun there. I also remember reading about this case in Minnesota. I spoke with the good chairman of the Revenue and Taxation Committee, and we talked a little bit about this last year, whether or not there was something we could do, and I am glad that the good gentleman sussed this out, and we can make sure that Idahoans are not having their home equity stolen by the government.
Aren't you one of those government guys? You've heard the motion. Further debate on the motion? Hearing none, and hearing no negative debate, question is to House Bill 444 pass the House. Clerk will mark machine, and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Birch. Keep pushing it. There you go. Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 66 ayes, 4 absent, and 0 nays, 4 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 444. House Bill 444 is passed the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Good work today. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 15th order of business. Announcements. The House at the 15th order of business. Are there announcements? Good gentleman from 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the body. I just want to let you know I have tickets for the Idaho High School Girls Basketball Tournament, 15th through the 17th. The Girls Dance Championship, Cheer Championship, and Boys Basketball Tournament. So if you're interested in tickets to any one of those, it gets you and a guest in for free to any of those state tournaments. See me today.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further announcements. You're done. Clerk may read.
House Business Committee will not meet Friday, February 9th. Clow Chairman. House Commerce and Human Resources Committee will not meet Friday, February 9th. Holtzclaw Chairman. House Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee will not meet Friday, February 9th. Skog Chairman. House Resources and Conservation Committee will meet Friday, February 9th. Upon adjournment of the floor, East Wing, Room 40, Mendive Chairman. For Monday, House Appropriations Committee will meet jointly with Senate Finance Monday, February 12th, 8 a.m., Room C310, Horman Chairman. House Education Committee will meet Monday, February 12th, 9 a.m., East Wing, Room 41, Yamamoto Chairman. House Health and Welfare Committee will meet Monday, February 12th, 9 a.m., East Wing, Room 20, Vanderwada Chairman. House Revenue and Taxation Committee will meet Monday, February 12th, 9 a.m., East Wing, Room 42, Monks Chairman. And House State Affairs Committee will meet Monday, February 12th, 9 a.m., East Wing, Room 40, Crane 13 Chairman.
Are there further announcements? Gentleman 5.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder for the folks in the Resources Committee, as soon as we get a quorum, we'll get started. It shouldn't be a long meeting. I'd appreciate you hurrying to get down there. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further announcements. Good late 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You all should have received an invitation to the debut of the Nuclear Navy documentary produced by Idaho Public Television. Please watch your email and RSVP to that, to some VIP events, and then the showing of that. Thank you, Mr.
Good ladies. Further announcements. Lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand for personal privilege. Thank you, Speaker, and good colleagues. I want to take this moment to introduce one of my constituents, Grayson Poe. He sent me an email earlier this fall about an issue that him and his friends are facing. We corresponded. I invited him down here. We're going to spend an hour working through that issue and hopefully bring some legislation before you here shortly. I also want to take this moment to welcome his mother, Samantha Poe, for allowing us to have this conversation and helping out her dear son.
Thank you, ladies. Further announcements. You're done? Well, the House now advances to the 16th order of business. And adjournment. The House at the 16th order of business. The gentleman from 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A little bit anxious. I move that the House do now adjourn until the hour of 10 a.m., Monday, February 12th, Anno Domini 2024.
Lake from 18.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. You've heard the motion that the House adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The House adjourned until the hour of 10 a.m. Monday, February 12, 2024.